Hello. In this video I will guide you step by step to build a network storage server that can be accessed from anywhere over the internet. Let's get started. I have 3 hard drives, 2 traditional hard drives for data storage, a solid-state drive running a network storage operating system. To install the operating system I used a USB drive. The operating system used in this case is called OpenMediaVault. There are several other operating systems for building a network storage server, but I chose OpenMediaVault because it does not require too expensive hardware. It is suitable for personal, family or small business needs. After downloading, you use the bootable installer tool. You plug in the USB drive and browse to the downloaded operating system installer. After a few minutes you will have a bootable installer. Here are the steps to install a network storage operating system on your computer. Make sure you have added 3 hard drives to the target computer. You can connect multiple drives hard drive if you want. You are asked to create a password for the root account. It will be used when you access it via the command window interface. With it you can install some advanced applications compared to the graphical interface. Here is a list of hard drives on my computer. You choose the hard drive that runs the operating system. Of course, you choose to install the operating system on the solid-state drive for faster speed. Traditional hard drives are used to store data. They will be configured in the following steps. All data on the solid-state drive will be erased and the operating system installed on it. After completing the installation, you remove the USB drive and restart the computer. And this is the IP address of the server. And this is the default username and password used to access the server. You use this information to access it over the network. I use another computer in the same internal network to access it. On this computer you open any browser and enter the IP address of server. You use the default username and password to access the server management page. Here are some basic settings. Here I select all the information on the dashboard. You can remove some things if you want. I select all because I want to see all the information about the server. I always want to know the performance of the server, always want to know about the status of the hard drives and the percentage of hard drive usage. Don't forget to set the time zone because it affects the scheduling of tasks. By default, the server is assigned a dynamic IP address, so I recommend you set up a static IP address. The static IP address helps you configure port forwarding for the services in the next steps. Don't forget to add DNS addresses for the device to connect to the external network. With a network storage server, you cannot ignore the configuration of hard drives. These are the hard drives on the server. You ignore the solid-state drive running the operating system, you only pay attention to two large traditional hard drives more. These are the hard drives that store data. Before using them, you erase the data on them. Then you configure the backup mode to store the same data on both hard drives. When one of the two hard drives fails, your data is still safe. This method does not optimize storage capacity, but I prioritize data safety. After completing the backup configuration, you format the hard drives. Because this is a Linux operating system, they are formatted as above. Next are some advanced settings such as usage warning thresholds and adding notes. If you have different groups of hard drives, you should add notes to distinguish them for different uses. Next, you create a new shared folder. This shared folder is created on the newly formatted group of hard drives. You can create multiple shared folders on the same group of hard drives. If there are many groups in your organization, you should create separate folders for each group by assigning permissions. After completing the creation of the shared folder, you enable the sharing service. There are different sharing services on different platforms. Here I use the SMB sharing service. This is the sharing service we use most often. Don't forget to enable the sharing service for the folder you just created in the previous step. Thus, the folder has been shared over the network using the SMB service. But you need an account with access rights to the shared folder. Therefore, you create a new account according to your own wishes. If you use this network sharing server in your organization, you have many people use it together, I recommend you create groups and each account belongs to a group. At that time, you assign permissions by group and each group is only allowed to access certain shared folders. This way of management will be more effective. Don't forget to add read and write permissions to the newly created account for the shared folder. With the above steps, you have a file storage server in a local network. On the computer in the same local network, I access the shared folder on the server to check the result. As you can see, I successfully used access to the shared folder over the network with the newly created account. This account has read and write permissions so I can upload or download files. The above are the steps to build a network storage server, but it is only used in the local network. If you have members connecting remotely, follow the following steps. The purpose of this part is to turn the network storage server into a virtual private network server. The client connects to the remote server over the internet. You follow the following steps. You update the server operating system. You are asked to restart the server to apply the updates. After completing the update, you install additional packages. By default, the operating system does not have these packages. You add it to turn it into a VPN server. You can install it using the command window or using the task scheduler. These two methods use the same command, just different ways of doing it. To install a VPN server, I use WireGuard. You install the VPN server package as above. After completing the installation, a new service will appear on the server management page. This service helps you create a tunnel to connect the client to the network storage server via the internet. You create a new tunnel. You are asked to set up a name, public IP address and port. The name you set up as you like. Then you find and set up the public IP address you are using. If you use a dynamic IP address, I will guide you on how to use a free domain name in the following steps. You can change the default port if you want, but in this case I use the default port. After completing the tunnel creation, you add new configurations for the clients. Here I create a new configuration file for the client using the computer. The client uses the tunnel just created in the previous step. Because my server is on a local network separated from the outside network by a router, so I configure port forwarding. On the router, I forward the default port to the server's IP address. If in the previous step you changed the default port to any port, then on the router you forward that port. Now you create a configuration file for the client. You will send this file to the client and use it to establish the connection. You copy the above content to create the configuration file. You note to set the correct file extension. On your computer, you download the software from the home page and install it. After completing the installation, you add the configuration file created in the previous step. On this computer, I connect to another wireless network, so the computer and the server are not on the same internal network. I will set up a virtual private network connection to access the shared folder over the internet. Remote connection established successfully. My computer has an additional IP address assigned by the virtual private network connection. I can access the management page using the tunnel. Not only that, I can upload or download files on the shared folder. Here I have completed the remote connection to the network storage server. As mentioned, I will guide you how to use a domain name instead of a dynamic IP address. I use a free dynamic IP address update service. You connect to the server using the domain name. You use the dynamic domain name service as above. It is completely free. You follow these steps. You open the command window and connect to the server using SSH. You use the admin username and password created when installing the operating system to connect to the server. You can use the task scheduler to install the above package, but I find using the command window more effective. After completing, you add a new scheduler to update the IP address for the dynamic domain. I will update every hour. So you have solved the dynamic IP address problem. You replace the domain name in your own code to schedule the update. After completing the scheduler, I run it manually to test the service. The IP address and domain name have been mapped successfully. With the domain name service as above, I will change the tunnel configuration. Instead of using the IP address, I use the domain name. I create a new client. This client connects to the server using the name domain. Similar to the last time, I created a configuration file for the client. As you can see, this configuration file uses a domain name instead of an IP address. On the client software, I use a new configuration file to set up a connection. As you can see, the connection is successful. So I have completed how to use the dynamic domain name service to connect to the network storage server over the internet. If you want to connect to the server using a phone, how do you do it? You follow these steps. On the server, I create a new configuration for the client as a mobile device. You note that each client has a different identifier. Unlike computers, mobile devices create connections using QR codes. Here are the steps on mobile devices. On the phone, you install the client application. Next, you add a connection using QR codes. This method is faster than using the configuration file on the computer. Very quickly, you have set up a virtual private network connection to the server. On the phone, you connect to the shared folder as follows. You make sure to allow the use of the service sharing service when connecting to the internet using mobile data. Then you create a new connection to the shared folder. In addition to this method, you can connect to the shared folder without a virtual private network. This method provides a faster connection but is not secure. It only applies to unimportant data. You follow these steps. Because I share the folder using SMB service, I forward the ports as above. With the above port forwarding method, you can access the shared folder over the network. You can connect using a public IP address or a dynamic domain name service. The above are the basic steps to build a network storage server and some ways to access the shared folder remotely. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good luck.